Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. It's being reported that the European Union wants to give robots personhood. The Guardian here published an article, Give Robots Personhood Status, EU Committee argues. Proposed rules for robots and AI in Europe include a push for a general basic income for humans and human rights for robots. And it says here the European Parliament has urged the drafting of a set of regulations to govern the use and creation of robots and artificial intelligence, including a form of electronic personhood to ensure rights and responsibilities for the most capable AI. In a 17-2 vote with 2 abstentions, the Parliament's Legal Affairs Committee passed the report, which outlines one possible framework for regulation. Quote, "A growing number of areas of our daily lives are increasingly affected by robotics," said the report's author, Luxembourgish MEP Maddie Delval. Quite the name. In order to address this reality and to ensure that robots are and will remain in the service of humans, we urgently need to create a robust European legal framework. The proposed legal status for robots would be analogous to corporate personhood, which allows firms to take part in legal cases both as the plaintiff and respondent. Quote, "It is similar to what we now have for companies, but it is not for tomorrow," said Delval. And it goes on to say that the report identifies a number of areas that need specific oversight by the European Union, including the creation of a European agency for robotics and AI, a legal definition of smart autonomous robots with a system of registration of the most advanced of them, an advisory code of conduct for robotics engineers aimed at guiding the ethical design, production, and use of robots, a new reporting structure for companies requiring them to report the contribution of robotics and AI to the economic results of a company for the purposes of taxation and social security contributions. Of course, more oversight, more rules, more laws, and a new mandatory insurance scheme for companies to cover damage caused by their robots. And if you actually look into this document, here it is, the European Parliament draft report with recommendations to the Commission of Civil Law Rules on Robotics. And it's crazy when you read this because it starts off with the introduction where, it talks about Frankenstein, Pygmalion, Prague's Golem, among other things, and how basically AI and robotics is the future of humankind and the impact it's going to have is tremendous. And so they're saying there should be some law or oversight. And in some ways, I think they're protecting the robots in a certain way as the job market changes and robots start taking over a lot of duties and a lot of jobs. Now, a couple of the interesting points in the document. Here's one. Whereas ultimately robots' autonomy raises the question of their nature in the light of the existing legal categories of whether they should be regarded as natural persons, legal persons, animals, or objects, or whether a new category should be created with its own specific features and implications as regards the attribution of rights and duties, including liability for damages. That seems reasonable to have a new category for robots since they have unique sets of qualities. And then this here where it says creating a specific legal status for robots so that at least the most sophisticated autonomous robots could be established as having the status of electronic persons with specific rights and obligations, including that of making good any damage they may cause, and applying electronic personality to cases where robots make smart autonomous decisions or otherwise interact with third parties independently. This is a pretty big step in terms of what the AI and the robot revolution is going to do, and the European Union being one of the first institutions to really try to lay out rules on a larger scale. Now, there's been ethics councils and things like that in the past. I think there's one for the United States for the ethics of technology, and those things have happened. Those conversations have been taking place, but nothing has been written into law or anything like that, because the sale of robots and, basically the implementation of robots into culture and society is still taking place. It's not really fully effective yet. And then Charter on Robotics, the proposed code of ethical conduct in the field of robotics will lay the groundwork for the identification, oversight, and compliance with fundamental ethical principles from the design and development phase. And it's interesting that they keep bringing up ethical standards here. And it's actually the foundation for their code of ethical conduct for robotics engineers. And, this is how the engineers should basically operate while creating these AI robots. And it says here, researchers in the field of robotics should commit themselves to the highest ethical and professional conduct and abide by the following principles. Beneficence. Robots should act in the best interest of humans. Non-maleficence. The doctrine of first do no harm, whereby robots should not harm a human. Autonomy. The capacity to make an informed, uncoerced decision about the terms of interaction with robots. Justice, fair distribution of the benefits associated with robotics and affordability of home care and healthcare robots in particular. So it's interesting how they're pushing the engineers to create robots pre-programmed to be our slaves, compliant ones at that. And I'll leave a link in the description section to the rest of the document so you guys can check it out for yourselves. But here we go. These are the types of changing of the tides that I've been talking about. I'm sure as the European Union irons out their sort of legal affairs and the rules associated with robotics and AI as it starts to disseminate into culture, other nations, other institutions, other governments will probably follow suit, and this will become another wrinkle in all of the legislation that these organizations, these worldwide global institutions want to conduct over the rest of humankind. And robots are a really perfect way to do it, but they understand there's going to be some bumps in the road for them. And as far as what humans have conjured in their imagination of where this type of thing goes, well, it never seems to end well, does it? And coming from a biblical perspective as a Christian, it's really interesting because, in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 18, it says, "What profit is an idol when its maker has shaped it, a metal image, a teacher of lies? For its maker trusts in his own creation when he makes speechless idols." And so, most of the time idols and images are speechless, yet when you go to Revelation 13 and verse 14, it says, "And by the signs that it is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword yet lived. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain." And then the next passage is about the mark of the beast, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead. But it's this worship of the image. This image actually speaks and has the ability to kill you if you don't worship him. Sounds like a robot AI egomaniac. But again, it's just a small example of how when Jesus said, "as the days of Noah were," he really wasn't kidding. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless.